Alright, so for those who are still unclear on what exactly happened, I placed Marvel MC on a hiatus that commenced on September 6, 2020. I, as well, decided to step away from the community. My last YouTube video was a review of the Maverick Club by Logan Paul, and I came back on October 6, 2021 with a new Maverick Club based video, which was about my Zoom call with Logan Paul. So that's exactly a year and 1 month later. It was never clear on how long the server would be gone or when I would come back and unpause it, but we did know that it was going to be a minimum of 6 months. 6 months passed, and there was still no sign of me or the server coming back. One thing I do want everyone to know is that I did keep the server in mind. There were huge talks of taking it off hiatus and bringing it back with upgrades, and we even started a checklist of agendas that need to be completed in order to officially be done with restoration to turn the server back on. I mentioned this in the interview that came out on my channel on December 1st, that there was a Marvel MC Summer 2021 attempt with a survival update that included the familiar planets of Morag and Berhart. To put it in summary, the project was never abandoned. Marvel MC still had some priority, but also, once I left, I wanted to use all the new free time to focus on a better, more healthier daily routine. So, by the time I did in fact start giving it some attention, my priorities were in a different order. Anyways, one of the things my return was pending since I wanted to come back very strong was the big YouTube video. And as soon as that was the case, I was reached out to and asked a very important question, which was, you got any projects you're working on at the moment? I'm going to be honest, this person did not have very good intentions when asking me this, and did not have my best interests at heart when they started making me offers. But that's a story for another day, and by another day I mean if I have to make another case file video, which I'm going to avoid from now on. Anywho, I answer. For the time being, unless I see the potential, running a server in this community doesn't interest me. I'd be much better off sticking to my networking and latest projects on YouTube. And with a bit of conversing in between, I go on and say, server projects in the Minecraft Super RP server community require a remedy that none of them have. In order to finally reach a breakthrough, that is. There is a reason why JC, just an example, I have nothing against them nor am I shaming them, for example, is still where it's at after 5 years. I believe I've cracked the code and it's been in the works for a while and nearly completed in the summertime, but we were halted. Until that remedy is complete, which I will continue to work on in the background while I do YouTube and put my certifications to use, there's going to be a dead end and an inevitability for failure and rupture, which makes the journey not worth it for any server project of the same pattern. First, let me be preemptively clear, that is not an attack. I'm not making this video for drama, so please don't. So, to the point of what I was saying, what I basically mean by this is, the servers within the community that Marvel MC and JC basically kicked off are all designed a certain way. Now, I'm not saying they're all the same, I'm saying they all have a format that they go by, and it's not a format that is designed for an innovative, self-growing Minecraft server. The only times these servers have made breakthroughs in server population is when everyone is drawn by these huge and widely promoted events, like server openings, big new updates, re-releases, the return of previously known servers, and so on. We know how to round people up, but we don't have a consistent history of keeping everyone rounded, plus adding new permanent people to the pack. And I want to clarify, Marvel MC is one of those servers, so I'm not saying my server was perfect, or that any of them are. What I'm saying is, all of these servers are subject to dead ends, player loss due to depletion and interest until something exciting happens again. Hundreds of players joining over time, but only 3% sticking around, and basically always being left with relying on the community and the energy the staff team has to give during that time period. And all of this is due to the format, and because of that format, the servers are all either doomed to last a long time, but not always a good time, or several shutdowns and an equal amount of returns and reboots to make up for it. Let me give a simple and quick example of a server with that perfect format. Hypixel. It's as simple as you join, everything's easy to understand and go over as a player, and then you enjoy their gameplay for an extensive period of time if you must, and then you leave when you're done come back later if it was fulfilling, which it most likely was, and do it all over again. So now I'm on to the, well, Spy, you're addressing all of these things, but what are you doing to help fix or resolve it? Well, that's another good and very important question. I've been working on the remedy, and I've been doing so since 2019. I've made several mentions of it over the years and how I want to be able to distribute it to help the other servers out, so they can have no roof when it comes to growth. It started off as a huge idea for a plugin, so there were long periods of planning it all out, with all things considered, and then finding the right developer for it who can also have the bonus of giving me a price tag I can work with. Once I found the developer, we worked together, I helped him with testing, and of course I paid them in full, but then we had the problem where not only do you have to fully design the plugin and all its components, but you also have to work out all the glitches and patch up all the bugs. Not to mention, these weren't little bitty issues that were, oh, let me just fix that real quick. These were a little bit more tough. There were so many complications that a little plugin should have been complete, it wasn't able to be used. Kind of like a brain dead plugin, all of the working organs were there, but they had no way of being functioned properly, due to complications in the way. At some point, I had Marvel MC's developer try to give these fixes a shot, since after a while of fixing every bug that I reported, the original dev started going still on me. That means not being as on time, taking forever to get back to me, and even forgetting to stay on things. But when you're being entrusted with the task of a huge plugin that isn't something that you worked on, that's a whole new ordeal, so it wasn't very easy. So we took Marvel MC's dev off of that since it wasn't panning out, and we stuck with relying on just the original main dev. And to be blunt, the gaps between communication got bigger and bigger. The pace in which these issues were being fixed became slower than I would have considered acceptable due to how big this plugin was and how important it was. The developer became more and more neglectful and less attention oriented, and with everything that was going on with the Marvel MC community that year, I was becoming a little bit more distracted with keeping up with reports on the latest bugs and reminders that there were still things that need to be patched up. The developer eventually abandoned the project, basically, and then Marvel MC began its hiatus, and then RSA's production was paused, and I took my leave. So this huge remedy that was meant for the whole community was one of those projects that went to sleep with everything else. Since I paid in full, and the plugin never reached the point of completion, and instead got neglected, things are no longer looking good between me and that developer. And it is currently an open case, so if you guys want, I can keep you up posted on that situation. But anyways, thankfully, we have the source code, so any competent developer that we may decide on can continue it. The reason why I bring this up is because this plugin, this update, this new and important format, is something I won't run a server like Marvel MC or RSA without. If I decide to just go along without it anyways, then I'm just going to find myself circling around in old patterns, because the old format is going to be subject to the same old problems that will still lead to that failure and rupture that I was mentioning earlier. This has been why, aside from the summer 2021 attempt and waiting on my comeback video to be released, which had its own problems and delays, plus my stubbornness to do it a certain way, that Marvel MC hasn't come back yet. I know how important it is that there's a public update for all the communities to be able to weigh in on, since a lot of people have either asked about it or commented about it, or just really want to know what's going on or what's taking so long. So there you have it. But thinking of the community, that's when I realized this isn't entirely up to me, it's also up to the players. Depending on the amount of support we receive, we would like to open the possibility of 2 betas. One, the re-release we already intended on doing last summer, but whitelisted. This will be re-releasing the server as it was before it closed, with its latest updates and the new Wakanda map that had just come out on Marvel MC's last event. To be whitelisted, players will have to apply via an application form. Limited slots will be available. And beta number 2, a private beta exclusive to those who buy premium slots, to help fund reinstated development for the big format update necessary to bring the server back permanently greater than it ever was. This beta will have an all-new update, which will be the new custom survival maps that represent Berhart and Morag, and any profits that do not go toward the important upgrade will be invested into either resuming production of RSA or continuing the updates that were already planned in Marvel MC's previous iteration. We're willing to do both of these betas, one after another, starting with the first one where players can start applying to be whitelisted. This is how we plan to bring back Marvel MC in both its last iteration that it closed with, as well as to put Summer 2021 update that we had planned to get use. Sick, right? We understand that the players of the community would want to come back and enjoy playing as their favorite characters, regardless of the update. And because of that, we anticipate all the positive feedback. Once we get an idea of the general response to this move we're making, and if we like where things are at, then we'll get the show on the road, starting with a follow-up video on everything that is in motion. Which means, more than anything, we want you to keep an eye out for that and leave a comment down below on what you think of all this. And in the meantime, you can click the link in the description to apply for the whitelist ahead of time right now. As for those interested in buying a premium beta slot for themselves or including friends, since we can't guarantee that part is happening yet, we don't want you to spend your money. However, we do urge you to apply for the initial whitelist like everyone else, because there's going to be a question asking if that's something you plan on doing once the option is available. And if that's the case, that should be ready on the Roleplay MC's shop by the time the follow-up video comes out. So I want everyone to keep an eye out on both this channel and the Marvel MC channel. That video should cover the release dates of both betas. And once those updates are set, I'll have a new YouTube video to cover for the Marvel MC channel, as well as a few announcements to make. So I repeat, keep an eye out, keep an eye out, keep an eye out. Subscribe if you have not already. And I believe that is it for the time being, guys. I was excited when I came up with this whole process as I was reading the plugin information for RSA's upgrades that are going to be in the works soon, and I immediately showed my staff member. I had this this is it mindset as I was relaying it to them, and they also loved the whole thing. But yeah, I'm excited, and I hope you guys are as well. And the best way for me to know that you are is let me know down below. See you guys all again soon for updates.